Okay, so I think it's time that we start asking some real questions about Hot Toys' entry-level venture known as HONO Studios. At the onset of their very first announcement, I, like you, were ecstatic to see that these comic book representations of our favorite characters were coming in at a fair and decent price point. I mean, for how cheap they were, why wouldn't you try them out? But that was all the way back in March of 2024, and here we are almost a year later with even more controversial reveals and apparent ever increasing prices. All that has given we collectors a lot more questions than answers, and we're going to try to get to the bottom of that, coming up next. So has Hot Toys officially tipped their hand? Well, I believe that they have, and I'm going to share that with you by taking a look at what HONO Studios, their entry-level offering for 6-scale collectibles, has been up to. As I said in the opening, we were so excited as collectors to finally start getting all these comic book representations of our favorite characters. And of course, as you know, this all started with the Tiger Stripe Wolverine, that look that was so iconic during the 90s X-Men run. And at only $160, which is almost half of what your traditional 6-scale figures went for at that time, I was willing to give this a go. And I have the receipts to prove it, all the way back from my time on the Will Foxification show. Check this out.
I have no issues with this. I think it's a fun line. So
Nice.
I'm very excited to see this stuff from the original comic X-Men. This is pretty exciting.
So, Kiko, after watching the show, did that make you want to pick up this Wolverine more?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're getting it though, right? You're definitely getting this.
I'm gonna have to. I think I'm gonna have to
Okay.
get. I think I might have to go in all in this line, and that's what they were planning on.
I mean, how cool were these? You got a comic accurate figure with seemingly pretty decent quality, a really cool concept for a display base using actual comics, and the promise of more iconic comic characters coming to the line over time. The next ship that was going to fall would be Magneto, and although not much, we saw our first price increase. Fine, whatever. Maybe it's an accessories thing, but $15 for a small increase, I didn't see that as being that big of a deal. Just don't make that the norm, so we thought to ourselves. But the hitch just kept on coming, and I'm not talking about banger figures, no, I'm talking about strange pricing tactics. The next figure that would be revealed would be the Black Suit Spider-Man, and priced for the same cost as Magneto at $175. Now, this one certainly left a lot to be desired, and I think it just looks extremely cheap, and it's essentially a 6-scale version of a Mezco figure. That figure was recently released, and what do you know? It is an expensive Mezco figure. Don't lie and say that it's not. It's a morph suit body and a hideous seam on the head. Yikes! But wait, there's more. Right as we were ramping up to get ready to have the blue and yellow Wolverine release, we get our first HONO exclusive. That's right, the iconic brown suit Wolverine that, if we're to be honest, is probably what a majority of people wanted in the first place. No surprise, it was priced exactly the same as the first Wolverine and at $175, but you got an exclusive katana, and yes, this was a limited release, limited to 2,000 pieces or so. So not everyone that wanted it could get one. Now that was strike number one for collectors, locking an iconic look behind a limited run and potential paywall with scalpers. Say what you want, but it wasn't a good look. But it wasn't something that they couldn't come back from. And add a tease of a comic book Thor at a couple different expos and convention, as well as a comic book Iron Man with apparent seamless joints, and people were right back to lapping up whatever HONO Studios was putting out. But wait, that comic book Iron Man does not even come with a head sculpt, and it is now $50 more than what the first HONO release of that Wolverine actually was listed at. I'm sorry, but for $225, for this is something I'm not willing to commit to, and personally, I think it is a giant swing and a miss. And I'll even go as far as saying that these tactics could lead to HONO Studios closing up shop before they officially release 20 figures. Bold, right? Well, today, I'm officially doubling down on that, but not because of the quality, but because of the tactics. Right on the heels of the brown suit Wolverine fiasco came another punch in the balls for Wolverine fans, and that is the exact same figure as their first release, the yellow and blue Wolverine, but this time you get an incredible unmasked head sculpt. And at the moment of this announcement, all the collectors let out a simultaneous WTF. But I have to be extremely honest here, and I find this strategy absolutely baffling. What exactly are they trying to accomplish other than pissing off their fan base and in turn potentially nuking their sales for future releases? Why should I or any collector sign up for anything from HONO Studios when the possibility of an upgrade is not 2 or 3 years down the road like some other Hot Toys 2.0s, but 2 or 3 months down the road? But the doom and gloom doesn't stop there. No, enter the latest reveal, the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man for the, wait for it, $200 price tag. Oh no, they didn't! I mean, holy price creep, Batman. We are now sitting at a standard HONO release, now 25% more than their first figure from last year. Now, I don't consider myself a super smart man, but I am smart enough to spot trends that I would say are troubling at the very least. Now, a few things to keep in mind. First off, HONO Studios is Hot Toys. Hot Toys is HONO Studios, and they marketed it as entry level. But what does that mean exactly? Well, entry level by definition is an inexpensive version of a product that is suitable for people who are new to it. Okay, great. Low risk, high reward, right? As I said at the onset, for $160, why not take a chance? If you are new to 6-scale collecting, why not take a chance on posing them up, pushing the boundaries, seeing if you actually like this scale and so much more? Well, all that is fine and good, but here's the dirty little secret that isn't making sense to me. At that price point, why not just pay for the real thing and skip this entry-level nonsense altogether? Now, don't get me wrong. I know that $50 is not a small sum of money, but when it comes down to it, it's not about the money at all for those who consume these. It's for the representation on their shelf. And what do I mean by that? Well, outside of the Doctor Doom figure, Hot Toys isn't doing comic or cartoon looks right now. They're all based off video games, live-action TV shows, and movies. On the rare chance they do an animated show, it's a stylized live-action version, like all those Bad Batch figures. So, tell me if I'm crazy, but this arm of Hot Toys is taking advantage of price gouging the comic-starved collectors. No need to pay for a comic Wolverine from Hot Toys because this is the version that you're going to get. And Hot Toys knows it. They know they can keep up these ridiculous prices and minimal offerings packaged behind a comic book paywall, and people will keep buying them. Why? Because it's what everybody says. They've waited X number of years to finally have a comic book representation of this said character in 1/6 scale. That is what they are doing, preying on the comic book fans who will overlook the weak-ass offerings because they are starving for representation on their shelf. It's just cheap enough, for now, to buy into, and the quality is just a step above third-party competitors. Am I crazy, or am I on to something? But the real question is, how long can HONO and Hot Toys keep this up? I said at the beginning, in the current form, I don't see HONO releasing any more than 20 of these figures with this current business model and these offerings, unless people keep falling for the scam. For me, what they offered at that price point of the Wolverine made sense. Hell, even the 2.0 with a head sculpt at $15 more is still okay. We are sub $200 for a fairly decent figure, but after seeing what has come out with both these Spider-Man figures, the low effort engineering, the bare bones offering, the growing prices, well, color me skeptical to say the least. That comic book Thor most likely will be dropping any time now, and its offering and its price point may very well tell the future of this line. But at the end of the day, it's up to you, the consumer, to decide whether these practices will be tolerated or not. If you aren't happy with the current trajectory of HONO Studios, then it's time to tighten your belt and force them to make an offering worthy of entry-level pricing. If everyone continues to fall and circle jerk over mid-figures, then you're not going to like what really comes down the pipe in the next 18 months from now. And I'll be able to sit here and tell you that I told you so. So now is the time for action and to do the unthinkable in the world of collecting, and that is show restraint. But once again, maybe I'm just being overdramatic and reading into things, and as some people suggest, only making these videos for the clickbait headlines and engagement farming. And I wish that were the case, as this person said, because my channel would be huge by now if it actually worked. But no, I actually make these videos because I want to help the collecting community, because I am a collector just like you. I don't get free products or shill for companies to use my code and link, though no hate to those who do. I just want the best bang for our buck. Well, that's going to do it for us here today. A deep dive into HONO Studios. So, what do you think? Are you happy with the current offerings that they're putting forward? Or do you have concerns, like myself? What do you think of their strategy, and is it working so far? And what would you do? Sound off in the comments below. If you made it this far and did not give me a like on this video and think I earned it, well, go ahead and click now. I would certainly appreciate it, and it certainly helps with the reach of this video on the channel, as does your engagement on all of my content. I certainly appreciate it. So until next time, happy collecting, do good to those around you, and I'll be seeing you in our next video.